Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us here today for the first of a three-part series exploring the Converso and Latino connection to Israel. My name is Michael Steinberger, and I am founder and CEO of Jewish Heritage Alliance, a platform dedicated to promoting the story of Sepharad on a global scale. Our alliance brings together global organizations, institutions, and individuals covering the private and public sectors, thereby creating a voice of the collective, allowing us to broaden our scope and expand our reach. At this time, allow me to give some background information and define some of the words and terminologies you will hear during these presentations. So the word Sepharad in Hebrew literally means Spain, but in historical context, Sepharad refers to the Jews over the Iberian Peninsula, nowadays Spain and Portugal. The Saga of Svarad is a far-reaching, complex story with profound consequences. It is believed that the Jews first arrived in the Iberian Peninsula as early as biblical times, but the earliest archaeological proof dates to the 4th century. Jewish life in Spain comes to an abrupt halt with the expulsion from Spain in 1492, and 5 years later from Portugal. Except for a relatively brief period we call the Golden Age, this was a tumultuous and turbulent period for the Jews of Svarad, experiencing oppression, persecution, massacres, and forced conversions. These forced conversions created the converso phenomenon. In today's discussion, you will hear terms such as conversos, crypto-Jews, Moranos, and new Christians. All of these names and titles collectively refer to the Jews that converted to Christianity. Moranos and crypto-Jews tend to be synonymous, but refer to the Jews that converted to Christianity and tried to hold on to their Jewish tradition in secret. The word Morano is deemed to be derogatory, possibly meaning pig or swine, so we try not to use this label or description. A more current term is Bnei Anusim, which in Hebrew means descendants of the coerced. New Christians is what the church called the converted Jews to distinguish them from, quote unquote, the old Christians. Converso tends to be the catch-all phrase for all of the above. It is important to note that when discussing converso or crypto-Jews, we're actually speaking of their descendants. As the title of this series suggests, we are here to explore the converso and by extension, the Latino connection to Israel. We have a stellar lineup of experts that will take us through the amazing kaleidoscopic journey from forced conversions, inquisition, massacres, expulsions, and stories also of survival, hope, and redemption. At this time, I would like to introduce Dr. Sam Richardson, representative of Jewish National Fund USA. He is the Director of Small Communities Outreach, and he's also a descendant of the Conversos. Take it away, Sam.
Thank you very much, Michael, for that kind introduction. And before we get to our main program, I would like to give all of our guests today a summary introduction to the Jewish National Fund USA. Most of you probably know the Jewish National Fund as the Tree People. And you might remember boxes like these in your home, your synagogue, or maybe you even took one door to door when you were a kid to raise funds to plant trees in Israel. And you did a fantastic job. The Yatir Forest is just one example of how the 260 million trees planted by the Jewish National Fund since 1903 have helped make the desert bloom. However, when JNF was formed in 1901, the point was not to plant trees. The point was to purchase land. Once the land was purchased, the trees were a requirement of Ottoman law. If the land was not cultivated or developed, then squatters would be able to claim the land by adverse possession. Thus, planting trees became the tool to prevent that occurrence. By 1940, thousands of dunams of land had been secured by the JNF and private corporations. The partition plan of 1947 by the United Nations closely follows those acquisitions. Today, JNF USA is more than trees. We are the water people, the environmentalists, the community builders, the Parks and Recreation Department. JNF USA provides the means to help all Israelis of all abilities. They are the educators both here and in Israel. We are the mission specialists, the virtual travel agents. We encourage resettlement from the core to the northern and southern peripheries by building brand new communities from the ground up and helping small businesses create new jobs.
It all begins with a vision of lush and breathtaking forests where once was only rocky and brown land. A vision of transforming the Negev and the Galilee, injecting a vitality that is transforming them into places people want to live. A vision for us to speak our values, leaving no one behind. A vision of quenching the thirst of Israel's population and allowing the agricultural economy to thrive. A vision that searches for solutions that will make a better tomorrow. A vision of a continuum, ensuring that we are raising tomorrow's leaders today. A vision that understands that a nation must know its past to create a stronger future. Be a part of our vision. Join us.
The Jewish National Fund is investing for the long term, from the forests of the north to the deserts of the south. But the most important ingredient is, of course, people. Jewish people coming from the four corners of the earth to rejoin the people of Israel to the land of Israel. Jewish National Fund affiliate Nefesh B'Nefesh makes this process easier by removing professional, logistical, and financial obstacles. And now, friends, let's turn our attention to the past, to the Saga of Svarad, a time of great Jewish thinking and accomplishment, but also a time of inquisitions, forced conversions, and the expulsion of Jews from Spain and Portugal. Come with me as we begin to tell the story of a journey from darkness to light with our partner, Jewish Heritage Alliance.
People are coming back. People are coming back after hundreds of years of being denied their Jewish heritage.
On a history that was hidden, and I say hidden, not lost, but actually I think it was hidden.
It's a piece that's missing. People have not understood it. People have not known about it. And it's been this big secret.
What happened in Svarad is a very important segment of Jewish and world history that was overlooked.
And they'd say to me, you know, I have really strange things. We're definitely not Jewish, but we somehow always seem to light candles on Friday night.
I started my Jewish life as a convert, and very happily so. My soul had aligned with my, let's say, my person.
Whoa, my God, it's incredible. My country, the country I love, is Jewish too.
Where did we come from? And how did these people come to Mexico, come to the southern part of the United States?
They say that 25 to 50% of the early colonists to Latin America were recently converted from Judaism, meaning in the last generation before they came. I mean, this is an extraordinary idea.
I would like to introduce Dr. Rabbi Peter Tarlow. Dr. Tarlow is founder of the Center for Latino Jewish Relations and Crypto-Jewish Studies and is a renowned expert in the subject of Svarad. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you, Michael. This is a true pleasure for me to be able to be with all of you today. What I'm going to do at Michael's request is really divide my few moments into three different sections. A very quick history of some of the relationship between the classical Sephardic community in Spain prior to the Inquisition in the land of Israel. Then I'm going to move very quickly to the sociology of the southern part of the United States in northern Mexico, what I often call the land of the Las Tierras del Rio Bravo, the lands of the Rio Grande River, which is basically the northern states of Mexico and the southern states of the United States. And then I'm going to speak a little bit about the current situation and why it's so important the work that the Center for Latino Jewish Relations does in order to connect people to the land of Israel, be they choosing to be Jewish or be they doing nothing more than recognizing that they have a Jewish heritage and therefore are part of the greater Jewish family, even though they're not necessarily part of the Jewish people per se. Very quickly, I was glad that we had some of the histories of the Jews of Spain and Portugal. It was a less tumultuous time than a time of ups and downs. There were wonderful periods, great golden ages, and periods that were more than difficult. Both are living parts of that Jewish heritage. But no matter what time you're looking at in Jewish history, in the Middle Ages, pre-Christian Spain, Muslim Spain, or even post-Muslim Spain, Christian Spain, prior to 1492, or the expulsions from Portugal 5 years later. The bottom line is, and it's really not 5 years later, it's really many years later. The official expulsions come 5 years later, but they're given a reprieve of 20 years to get used to it. But no matter how you look at it, these people always had a connection to the land of Israel. They couldn't go, though some of them did. Again, I won't go through all the history of the Jewish world, but if I look at just two famous writers from Jewish history, Yehuda Halevi and Ramban, Moses Maimonides. Both of them not only spoke about their love for the land of Israel, but at one point in their lives went. In the case of Yehuda Halevi, one of our most famous poets, and one of the people who turned the Hebrew language from basically a language of the desert to a living modern language, a language of modern poetry at the time, a language of love, a language of caring, a language that showed that it could be used in a daily life. And in that sense, Yehuda Halevi is a predecessor to Eliezer ben Yehuda, the founder of modern Hebrew. His most famous line is that, "My body is in the West, but my heart is in the East." And he meant, of course, the land of Israel. Yehuda Halevi eventually leaves Spain, goes to the land of Israel, and there's at least an apocryphal story saying that he got as far as the Western Wall, where he was murdered by a Muslim swordsman. Now, if that's true, or that just kind of got made up along the way, is highly questionable. But what is not questionable was that he represented the love and the hope of the people of Al-Andalus, of then as Spain was called, the Jewish population to at some point be able to return to the land of Israel. The same was true of Maimonides, whose family at the end of the 12th century was forced to leave Cordoba. He was from an upper middle class Jewish family. And when they left, one of the places they went to was the land of Israel. It was incredibly hard to make it there. And eventually his family moves to Egypt, where he becomes one of the great scholars of the Jewish world. And of course, many of our famous texts, including Moreh Nevuchim, come out of this period. It's often translated into English as a guide for the perplexed. I have often thought that he really meant to say a guide to perplex you, because to read it is a literary example of being in a Skinnerian box of which one cannot get out. One way or the other, these people carried a love for Zion. And as eventually they will be expelled, while they turned to the West, many of them truly wanted to go to the East. Some of them do. Many of them are able to go to Turkey. And from Turkey, which was in control of the Ottoman Empire, we were able to see people who get us to the land of Israel. People such as Dona Gracia, who is able to leave Portugal, get to Antwerp, Belgium, eventually to Italy, eventually to, she sets up shop in Izmir, Turkey, but founds synagogues in the city of Tzfat, in Sepharad, in Safed, in northern Israel, many of which you can still visit today. And again, that's a symbol of the fact that people were willing to put their money where their mouth was. These are early Zionists, though they didn't have that necessarily word. Many, of course, did not get to Turkey. It was a dangerous trip from Spain to Turkey. And some eventually got to the New World. One of the places that I'm sure Rabbi Ventura will be speaking to us about, and I'm just going to mention it briefly, was they got to Pernambuco, Brazil, which was under Dutch control. And the Dutch set up two important aspects. One is the first time in history that Jews are given full citizenship. And when the Portuguese retake Pernambuco, many of them leave. I mean, like all of them leave. You have a choice of either dying under the reenacted Inquisition or getting out of Brazil. Those who leave, most go back to Amsterdam. A few go to Curaçao, which is where we have the oldest synagogue in the New World, Mikveh Israel. And 24 of those families come to a place called New Amsterdam, now known as New York. And they are the original 24 families that come to the United States. In reality, we can say that the American Jewish community is a offshoot, a colony of the Brazilian Jewish community. So thank you, Rabbi Ventura, and thank you to the people of Brazil for founding the Jewish community in the United States. I tell this to you because there was a second immigration, and that was that there was a great number of Jews who left Spain and came to places such as northern Mexico. Now, they usually came to a place called Veracruz, which was the main port of Mexico City. They hoped to get to Mexico in order to avoid the Inquisition. Most of those people, though, found it very difficult because the Inquisition followed them. And so they went to the most uncomfortable places that could be found in the Mexican territories, which was northern Mexico. Northern Mexico, prior to air conditioning, or southern Texas, was truly an awful place to be. Filled with snakes, hot in the summer, unbearably hot in the summer, with temperatures up to 125 degrees, and cold and miserable in the winter. That was the place that people thought there was the least chance of the Inquisition following them. Now, when I speak about northern Mexico, I'm really speaking about southern Texas, southern New Mexico, southern Arizona, southern California, and then the northern Mexican states, especially Tamaulipas and Nuevo León. Nuevo León was founded by someone, the first crypto Jew, who ended up becoming the governor of Nuevo León, Luis de Carvajal. And Luis de Carvajal is the first governor in the history of Mexico to be burnt at the stake for illegally practicing Jewish religion. Now, why is that important? Because we discovered that much of the people who live in southern Texas and northern Mexico have tremendous amounts of Jewish roots. Often you have giveaways by last names, people whose names end in EZ. In Portuguese, it would be ES, or named after such as Jimenez, Ramirez, Martinez, or people who are named after fruit trees, Manzano, and I'll tell you a funny story about that in a few moments. Or geographic name, Rio, Montaña. These were often signs of the Inquisition that you had, as Michael has mentioned, you were Nuevo Cristiano or Novo Cristian, a new Christian. Therefore, you had sangre impura, dirty blood, meaning Jewish blood. Many of these people, of course, all of these people legally had to hide their Jewish roots, but many of them kept it in one form or another of customs. And much of this was very quiet for a long time. Now, I became involved in this, one, because I'm Portuguese and Spanish speaking, but because of the fact that when I came to Texas A&M University in the 1980s, people would call me and say to me, we have a funny tradition in our home that we're Catholic, but we light candles on Friday night. Or we're told that if you eat pork on Saturday, you're going to die. Or my mother always insisted on sweeping to the middle of the room rather than out of the room, or putting on a white tablecloth on a Friday night. Now, most people did not know what these symbols meant. In the same way, we have lots of words in especially Mexican slang that are really not Spanish, but they're Ladino. For example, for those of you who know a little bit of Spanish and Ladino, it's common to hear somebody say when they're having a problem, que relajo. Now, que relajo in Spanish literally means am I relaxed, which would not have much sense of being in a problem unless you understand Spanish well, and you understand that the verb relajar in Spanish has a tertiary meaning, which is to be turned over by the church to the secular authorities for the purpose of being burnt at the stake. And that was always that you were burnt from the feet to the head so that you would have maximum suffering. In modern Spanish, the word que relajo is kind of saying, uh-oh, I'm going to be burnt by the Inquisition, but it's used as a manner of saying, I got big problems. Boy, do I have issues. So you'll hear someone say now, que relajo tengo, means, boy, am I in big trouble. Coming, and these are typical Latino words coming out of Jewish heritage and coming into modern Spanish. And I could give you hundreds of words like this that are used every day. And most Spanish-speaking people from northern Mexico or southern Texas do not realize that they have a Jewish heritage to them. So I started to investigate these things, and people started coming to me and asking me about their questions. And about more than 20 years ago, we decided to have a conference at Texas A&M University about the history of Luis de Carvajal. I was sure that no one would show up. We did it on Thursday afternoon on the 4th floor of the university library without parking, and it was a rainy, miserable day. And I said, well, I'll be there by myself. It ended up, I was by myself, plus 250 other people who came. I said, wow. From a marketing perspective, and my PhD is in tourism, I said, God is telling me something and I need to be listening. So we founded a center for the study, first of just crypto Jews, which eventually was merged with what's called JINSA, which is the Jewish Institute of National Security, to create a new center called the Center for Latino Jewish Relations. And our number one job is to bring people, Latino leaders from the United States who are able to make a difference. We give them a fully 100% paid trip to Israel. And their responsibility is when they come home that they're to speak at their church or their business or their organizations or whatever they happen to be part of, so that they tell people not what they hear in the media, but rather what they've seen with their own eyes. Now, we don't try to propagandize them. I don't have to propagandize anyone. The story of Israel is the story of Israel. And when someone is there and sees it with their own eyes, they understand how often Israel is given a terrible rap by the media. And so what my job is to get these people to come to Israel, to see it. Their responsibility is to pay for someone else to come. So they get a free trip, but they help somebody else for a trip. And then to go and to speak about Israel. And again, we only take people who are key leaders. We've taken people both from the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. We've taken people from across the United States. And some of the things that has done is when anti-Israel legislation comes up in Congress, these are the people who step up and protect the Jewish people for us. Now, some of them become interested in Judaism and are interested in possibly converting or reconnecting. Some of them are very happy being whatever religion they happen to be it Protestant or be it Catholic. And by the way, the word Protestant, when used in the Latino community, often means crypto Jew. So when you say, yo soy protestante, in Spanish, that has a double meaning. It can either be, I am a Protestant, or it can mean, I am a protester. I disagree with the policies of the church. And therefore, often crypto Jews call themselves protestantes because they were disagreeing with the policies of the church. So you have to be very careful when you use vocabulary because it can lead to all sorts of different problematic meanings. Many of those people have now stood up. Let me give you a few examples. When a professional basketball game was played in Houston a few years ago, and it was called Israel Night, and the Israeli consul general was invited to that basketball game, the Houston Chronicle decided to lambast him because he was sitting in a VIP seat. It was a ridiculous thing to say. If Jews had protested, they would have blown us off. Instead, we were able to mobilize thousands of Latinos to write to the Houston Chronicle and say what you did was totally unacceptable. Now, it's a lot more positive for Israel if I have one of my Latino colleagues speak pro-Israel than if I speak it. If I say I'm Rabbi Peter Tarlow and I'm pro-Israel, people go, so what? But on the other hand, if one of my friends who comes out of the Latino community and is a major business figure or a major political figure says it, people tend to listen. For those of you who are familiar with the United States, right now we have a major border crisis. In the last 3 months, more than 500,000 people have entered the United States on our southern border. It is expected that we may have up to 2 million people coming from Latin America this year to the United States. The entire Jewish population is 6 million people. If we have 2 million more Latinos, that means the Jewish percentage will consistently go down. And what does that mean to the state of Israel? Jews will be, over the next 10 to 15 years, will be much less influential than they are today. And as it is today, the Jewish community is divided. There really are at least 2 Jewish communities, the Orthodox, or 3, the Orthodox, the Hasidic, and then the liberal. And those 3 communities are not necessarily always in sync. If we do not get to the Latino community now, I can assure you our enemies will. And so it is my job to make sure that as we become a smaller percentage of the general American population, and given the current state of politics in the United States, the Jewish people will have less and less influence over American foreign policy. And I don't want to get into politics, but one way or the other, you see that this is the ability of the Jewish community to influence is much less. If we don't gain the consistency of the Latino community, we will be a small footnote in the history of the world. So what we're doing is not only for working to tell the story of Sepharad, but if we do not translate that into political and economic terms, then the entire people of Israel will suffer. So hopefully I give you a message of hope, because we're working to make sure that never happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much. And now I would like to introduce Rabbi Gilberto Ventura. Rabbi Ventura is founder of Synagoga Sin Fronteras, or in English, Synagogue Without Borders. For those of you who don't know, Brazil is a huge country. It spans almost 4/5 of the landmass of South America and is home to the largest population of conversos in the world. Rabbi Ventura will share with us how he embraced this community, the fascinating work he has accomplished, and the work he's continuing to do. Welcome, Rabbi Ventura.
Shalom, shalom, my dear brothers and sisters. Thank you, my dear friend and brother, Michael, and congratulations for your incredible job for the Bnei Anusim, for our cause. You are doing a very amazing job. Thank you very much. My name is Gilberto Ventura. I'm from Brazil. As Michael has said, my father is from Egypt, and my mom, her fathers and mother are from Poland, and I am a rabbi here in Brazil. So I teach it in Jewish schools more than 20 years, in synagogues too. And more or less 20 years ago, I was walking around the streets and somebody came to me and started to call me a parasite, a stranger parasite, because of my kippah. He saw me as a Jew like a stranger. So I decided to answer to him, not only to him, but to give to my students. In those times, I have 1,200 Jewish kids in my classes in the schools every month. So I decided to give them a answer to against this kind of accusation that my fathers and forefathers heard in them lands. So I started to to study about the story. I remember that when I was young, I heard that with the people from Portugal that discovered Brazil, there were 1 or 2 Jews. So I started to look for books. And suddenly I saw something very incredible that I never heard, nor in the Jewish schools that I studied, and nor in the synagogues that I prayed, that Brazil was built by Jews. Yeah, in the schools, in the university, what the people teach here in Brazil, that the first people that came from Portugal were prostitutes and thieves. Yeah, what they want with this, to cover the real people that came from Brazil, that were Jews. One of the most incredible things is that the mother of the man who discovered Brazil was Jew. Her surname was Gouveia from Portugal. The first man who had the rights to explore the land of Brazil was Fernando de Noronha. He was a Jew. And the most incredible thing is that that Cabral was married with the daughter of Fernando de Noronha. So Brazil was a place where the Jews came not only to make money, but mainly to look for a place, a earth, that they could be free as a Jews. This is incredible. The story of Brazil is the story of Jewish people looking for a safe place to be Jews. I will share here some pictures to show. This is the name of our institution, Synagogue Without Borders, Sinagoga Sem Fronteiras, founded by me and my wife, Jaqueline Ventura. And here you see the boats that came from Portugal. Yeah, this is a very interesting and important thing. Here in Brazil, we didn't heard about it. No, the Jewish community, nor the biggest community, about this issue of the Jews who came from Brazil. But and now the people ask me, even in the Jewish community, no, it's not right, it's not real. So we have really a lot of documents in the Tower of Tombo, that's in an archive in Portugal, with all the documents of the Inquisition. And there we see there are some words that I don't have in Hebrew, so I asked to my friend Michael in Hebrew, okay? And there are a lot of documents with the accusations against the Jews here in Brazil, keeping Judaism through the 100 years. And this is an example of an archive there. This is a very interesting thing that a friend of mine found in the last year. It's really incredible. In Pernambuco, in the Sertão. What is Sertão? Sertão is the desert of Brazil. Yeah? So here you see, okay, I forgot the word in Hebrew too. No problem.
What do you want to tell me in Portuguese?
Ruínas.
The ruins.
Ruins, okay, thank you. The ruins. You see in ruins in the Sertão of more or less 20, 50 years ago.
Sertão in English is the outback.
Okay, thank you. Those dishes you see here is a menorah. Here you see chai. It's really incredible. Okay, and the next one, prepare yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Oh, a mezuzah. You see, a very wonderful mezuzah. Shema Israel, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, and etc. In the Sertão of Brazil. So until now, we see people that don't like Jewish people, And they say, no, this is not real. This didn't happen here in Brazil, but we have all the proofs to show the story, the wonderful story of the Jews who built Brazil. And here we have some of the genealogies of people that are engaged in our group, Synagogue Without Borders, that we work to receive people, to teach people, to educate people, and to teach to all Brazilian people about the Jewish roots of Brazil, who want to come back to Judaism through the halakha, the right way. We teach them and we receive them. But our idea is not only to receive people that want to come back to Judaism. Our idea is to spread the knowledge about the Jewish roots of Brazil, to make people not only stop to hate Jewish people, but to make people love Jewish people. We don't work here with the word anti-Semitism. I like the word philo-Semitism, to make people love the Jewish people. Yeah. So if the person wants to continue to be Catholic, to be evangelical, no problem. But if they know the Jewish roots, we are protected against the anti-Semitism. This is one thing. So here we have this guy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 30. 40, 60, he is descendant of Branca Diaz. Branca Diaz was a very, very known and important Jew woman here in Brazil, that he was the first to teach girls in Brazil. And what did she teach? Hebrew alphabet. It's incredible. And she was an amazing woman. And until now, we go to her home and we bring people to visit and etc. In the other branch, he is a descendant of the last rabbi from Castella, Abraham from Castella. So we have the genealogical trees. This is another example from our friend Francisco Cláudio Vasconcelos Solon. He's from Ceará. He's descendant from Branca Diaz and Diogo Fernandes, the same people. And this is another one that live here in São Paulo, Amilcar. He's descendant from Branca Diaz too. And we have here in Brazil, people speak about between 20 million descendants or 40 million descendants, and maybe more, because the time they came to Brazil 500 years ago, and they mixed all the population, and they were a big part of the first people who came from Portugal. I want to show you what we are doing here in Brazil, right? Because the story we know, 100 years, we heard people wanting to come back to Judaism, people dreaming, people want to come back. People are coming, as you said in the last movie, Michael, that I appreciate. People are coming back. People are coming back. So what we do when people want to come back? So this is what we and my wife, we are doing with Synagogue Without Borders. Receiving people from all Brazil. We have more than 26 communities in Brazil of people coming back. So you see here some examples. In the south of Brazil, in the north of Brazil, in Amazonia, in São Paulo, in Rio de Janeiro. You see? This is in Fortaleza, Paraíba. And this is one of the most important things we do. We understand that people coming back to Judaism is not only an issue of beliefs. If the person say, I want to pray to God, I say, okay, you are free. You can pray to God everywhere when you want. right? But if you want to come back to the Jewish people, you have to assimilate the Jewish culture. Our culture is very important for us. So we give classes every week, 3 times every week, Hebrew, not only biblical Hebrew. Michael, no. To speak modern Hebrew, we want people go to Israel. We want our youngs go to Israel, to live in Israel, to study there, to go to the Tzahal, to come back to Brazil, and to support us in this giant work. Yeah. So we teach Hebrew, Jewish law, Torah, story, Zionism, and Zionism is a very important thing in our work, because we understand and I heard what Rabbi Peter said about the anti-Semitism, the growing of the anti-Semitism, and I always speak about Isaiah 44. Isaiah 44 said that don't fear people of Israel. So if he says don't fear, we understand that we should fear for something, right? So he says don't fear, because there will come a time that suddenly Jews will grow up in the floor like grass, like trees. The descendants gonna say about themselves, I am from Israel, I am Jew, I am from God. So this is exactly what's going on here now in Brazil, in all Latin America, in United States too, and in some places of Europe. But we must do our task. Our task is to embrace those people, but to give them the possibility to assimilate the Jewish culture that's so important for us. So this is one of the things that we most like. I don't want to forget to say that we who are Zionists, we have to take care. I love my brothers, all my brothers, Jews and non-Jews, but we have to take care. Don't let the non-Zionist movements, Jew movements, the anti-Zionists, Jewish movements, to bring the Bnei Anusim with them. We need the Bnei Anusim with the flag of Israel. We need the Bnei Anusim going to the Tzahal too. We need the Bnei Anusim defending Medinat Israel in America, in Brazil, in all the world. This is very important for us to take care. Don't let they go to people who don't support the state of Israel. So this is the Yeshiva do Sertão. Yeshiva do Sertão is a yeshiva camp. Me and my wife Jacqueline is here. She's a great human, a great teacher, and a great rabbinite. And we bring those kids and we teach them through 20 days, 2 weeks. You see, we teach Hebrew, Torah, Halakha, Bnei Anusim from all Brazil, Krav Maga. This is very important for us. We don't want only, I speak again, we don't want only religious people. We want religious people just like King David, who when they have to pray, they pray. When they have to battle, they know how to battle too. This is very important. Yeah, Krav Maga. We did 7 yeshiva camps. You see here is in São Paulo. Here is in the first synagogue of America, the mother of the Judaism of United States, from where the 23 Jews came, from this synagogue here in Recife. Here is in Paraíba. Teaching all the times. Here you see a bar mitzvah in Rio Grande do Norte. We have there a mikveh, Sefer Torah, yeshiva again. Yeah, just some pictures more. Here's a friend of Annie Frank, Miss Nanetti. She's a survivor of the Holocaust, and she met the descendants of the survivors of the Inquisition. And it was an incredible meeting in the yeshiva camp here in Brazil. So you see, this is part of our job. This is Seu Baruch with the granddaughter. The flag of Israel in all Brazil. And those are some of the 20 youngs that we sent to Israel. They are studying in yeshiva. Those 3 are the last we sent. They are studying in Esder Yeshiva, and they will go to the tzava after the yeshiva. And I hope they will come back to Brazil after them to support us and to help us with the coming back of the Bnei Anusim, with Judaism, with Torah, Avodah, with academical levels, and with a lot of Zionism in the heart too. And those are our next generation, the Brit Milah. We have a lot. Not all the pictures are here. And this is a little of our operation in the media of Israel. You see, descendants of forcefully converted Jews open mikveh in northern Brazil. Here, our support, we do a lot of support to poor people here in Brazil, in the favelas, to Indian people. Our movement have a very important work in this issue too. Brazilian Rabbi opened summer camp for descendants of forcibly converted Jews in the Jerusalem Post, Times of Israel, Haaretz.
Rabbi Ventura, we really have to cut to a close here.
Okay.
Oh.
So this is a little bit about our job here in Brazil. And I thank you very much, my friend, my brother Michael, all the friends that are here with us. Thank you very much. And I hope to win for everybody, to Am Israel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both, Rabbi Taro and Rabbi Ventura, for really a fascinating and comprehensive presentation. I'm sorry we ran out of time, but there'll be other opportunities. Your story is amazing, and I'm sure we will have opportunities to come back. But at this time, we would like to begin the Q&A segment.
We do have quite a few questions that have been forwarded. Let's start with one of the more basic ones. Is there a way to find someone to help with genealogy search if someone suspects they may be of Anasim descendant?
It depends where you are. If you are in the United States, it's very easy to do it. For example, the Houston Library will provide a full set of genealogy research almost for free if you're a Texan. If you're in a place like Guatemala or in Honduras, it's going to be a lot harder. So it depends where that person is located. And if the people want to write to me or whatever, I can give them some sort of ideas. But yes, there's both free genealogy research and there's expensive personal research. So it depends upon how much you're ready to invest and how much you're ready to work and where you're located. But again, for example, here in Texas, the Houston Public Library has a full set of genealogical research, and it will help any Texan to discover their roots. And that is a large percentage of the crypto-Jewish population that lives in Texas.
Thank you very much.
I would also, just to chime in, there are a variety of resources. There's a lot of work being done, and I would ask that person to send us an email, and we will follow up.
We have an interesting comment from Daniela in Brazil, and she mentions that there's very little support from the traditional community in Brazil. But then Leslie is also asking, what is the, I guess, flavor, the denomination of teaching that you are doing, Rabbi Ventura? So I guess that's a kind of two-sided question. Is there support from the traditional community? And so what is your brand of Judaism that you're teaching?
Okay, the mainstream the community, there are a lot of opinions. As we know, where you have two Jews, we have three opinions, right? So in Brazil, the Jews are the same thing. So there are a lot of Jews that love very much what we are doing here, that support. But there are the mainstream, let's say the leadership, are slowly understanding the importance of this task. And I understand them, because we were hundreds of years that when people came to knock our doors, it was to convert us, to kill us. So it's a very new thing, but slowly they are understanding, and we are talking more and more about it. And about the second question about the
Sam, what was the second part of the question?
The flavor of Judaism. Are you closer to U.S. brand of conservative or UK Masorti, or are you modern Orthodox or traditional? How do you categorize yourself?
I'm closest to Mizrahi, to Zionist. Okay. Yeah, Zionist, Orthodox, Torah ve'avodah, modern Orthodox. But we understand that we have to open the doors in a very with a lot of study and culture and connection to all people that want to come to Judaism. I understand that I cannot be the only door. You understand? I understand that, but I hope to bring the majority to a Judaism with Zionism, with academical level and Torah.
Sam, before you move to the next question, I just want to share with you my vantage point. I've been talking and dealing with Rabbi Ventura for the better part of Jewish Heritage Alliance existence, almost 6 years. Just to embellish, I have to tell you, albeit he's an Orthodox person, he's very open-minded, and he really does an amazing, and I mean this amazing outreach to non-Jews, Jews of all flavors, if you will. So I think his particular slant of Judaism is personal. I think he is a very open-minded person, and he knows which way the winds are blowing.
Closely related to that is the ability of B'nai Nosim to make Aliyah. Is there anything official from Israel, and what type of success have you had?
Okay, whereas not, but there are happening things in Israel now that are breaking the monopoly of the Rabbanut Harashit. So we are seeing that things gonna change. This is one thing. The other thing is that we send, as I said before, we sent more or less 20 youngs to Israel. So when they arrive there, they are received in yeshivot, in michlalot, in schools, Orthodox, as Jews, but because they recognize our conversion here in Brazil. Not the state recognized, but yeshivot and midrashot, schools for the youngs. So when they are there, they can now, if they want to stay, then they can convert again by the Rabbanut and to stay in Israel. When we send people there, surely is much more easy to them to stay there and to receive Aliyah. But I will speak the truth. I'm gonna speak the truth. I'm very happy that in this time, that last time, we didn't have the right of Aliyah, because I want people stay here in Brazil, whereas to develop a very strong Jewish community, a Jewish community that have the same names of the Brazilians, the same skin of the Brazilians, that influentiate Brazil as Brazilians of centuries and Jews, because I love very much Israel, and I want Israel to have a very strong diaspora. We need it. We need it. So I think it's a present from God that in the right time, the right of coming back to Israel and to become a citizen will come. But whereas I thank to God that it's not exactly in this way.
I'd like to chime in just a little bit here. I think what Rabbi Ventura is saying is that it's complicated. And we don't have the time to really get into all of this here. But I would say the following. I think there is a movement in Israel to recognize the importance of the Bnei Anosim. We are working on a concept that's similar to Birthright. If people know, Birthright is a program where young adults can go to Israel to get to know firsthand. Bnei Anosim don't have such a program, and there are people like Rabbi Peter Tarlow, and as he told you earlier today, the idea is, and we are working towards that end, is to bring as many conversos, whether they're converted or not, to make them friends of Zion and to bring them to Israel, because there's nothing like visiting Israel. People who land in Israel, get to feel Israel firsthand, come back completely different people. And so it is a complicated story. A lot of us are working on it. We will be talking about it in our third seminar of this three-part series. We'll talk more about that then. So yes, it's complicated. Rabbi Ventura likes it as it is because he doesn't want to lose his people. But I think that we need to bring as many people as possible to visit and understand the state of Israel for what it really is, not what the media says it is. Go ahead, next question.
Well, this is the last question, and I think it's an apt one for the trajectory. And perhaps this is for Rabbi Tarlow. For people who are interested in fully rediscovering their roots and reconnecting to Israel as Jews, are there options for conversion in the United States?
Absolutely. And interestingly enough, and I'll give you an example of this. I have a synagogue in northern Mexico. It's right on the border it's called the Mexicali, and it's right on the border with El Centro, California. If I convert someone in Mexico, that conversion is not recognized by the Rabbanut in Israel. If, on the other hand, I convert them maybe less than half a mile away in the United States, we have no problems with conversion or being accepted with an Israeli passport. So what do? I walk across the river and do the conversions in the United States. Under Israeli law, which is different than for Latin America, in the United States, if you are converted by any of the mainstreams of Jewish life, be it Reform, Conservative, or Orthodox, as long as you are part of an established Jewish community, that will be accepted automatically for right of return. If it's in Latin America, then you have a whole series of other problems, often because of corruption and many of the problems that internally, I have a synagogue in Huánuco, Peru, and I can tell you laws of corruption from here to the end of the train. But in the United States, this is not a hard process at all. And you only have to become a member of either Reform, Conservative, Reconstructionist, or Orthodox synagogue, and you will be accepted for a right of return in Israel. So it's actually much easier in the United States.
Guys, we've sort of run out of time, so I'm going to close here. So this time I would like to thank Jewish National Fund for the opportunity to bring the Svarad story to life. I will tell everyone that the Svarad legacy lives today in both the Sephardic Jewish communities and the Converso communities. But the glaring difference is that there are only 16 million Jews in the world today. And there are an estimated 200 million or more conversos. Pay attention to those numbers. Moreover, it is believed that 1 out of every Latino is a descendant of Svarad. So it's important to note that the Svarad segment of Jewish history does not have the same coverage or attention as European or biblical Jewry. So we invite each and every one of you to please come back, join the rest of the series, and follow Jewish Heritage Alliance to learn more about the silent but profound heritage of Svarad. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here today.
I also want to thank you for joining us today for this educational enlightening presentation. And please do be sure to join us for part 2 on May 23rd for some amazing stories of personal journeys. And then part 3 will take place on June 13th, where we will learn of the importance of the Latin and Converso communities in the land of Israel. And if one of your questions has gone unanswered, please forgive us for the time, but we have collected them all and you will receive a response via email. And everyone will receive an email from me later this week with a link to the recording, a link to support the work of the Jewish National Fund, a link to register for the next 2 sessions, as well as contact our panelists. So you'll get a lot of information coming from us in the next couple of days. Now, please join me for an introduction to our affiliate Nefesh B'Nefesh by JNF USA CEO Russell Robinson. Then we will close with a tribute to all of those who have made Aliyah to our land and sing together our national song, Hatikva.
Why Jewish National Fund and Nefesh B'Nefesh? Well, it's truly in our DNA. It's about who we are. It's about our very existence as an organization. 119 years ago, this organization was established to repurchase the land of Israel for the Jewish people everywhere. In that repurchasing acres by acres of land, who was it for? It was for the people, the Jewish people. And we developed cities throughout Israel, moshavim and kibbutzim. We've turned desert and turned it green and provided water resources to a thirsty nation. But all of that is about people, Jewish peoplehood. Now, that's a word that's thrown around a lot over the years, but it's a word that's really a reality because of our work and the work together with Nefesh B'Nefesh. We always say at Jewish National Fund, if you want to really see Israel, if you want to really have a relationship with Israel, it's not in the hallways of the Knesset. It's on the streets of Kiryat Shemona, in the Arava, in Beersheba, Tiberias, in Akko, in Tel Aviv, in Yerushalayim. Guess what? It is in all those streets, in all those places, and throughout the entire Israel in which you can run into, learn from, drink wine, have a beer, see an entrepreneur, from a person from North America who has made Aliyah through Nefesh B'Nefesh. Yes, in all those places, because that is what Nefesh B'Nefesh has done. It is made in Israel, not a place in which there's nowhere else to go, so that's why you call Israel home? No. It's a place today that is being calling home to our Jewish people because it's a great place. And that's why the picture behind me is so perfect for today's story, because it's a vibrant nation that we are making together vibrant, together with Nefesh B'Nefesh and Jewish National Fund. And we're building that bridge, the human bridge, the fabric of who we are, together with the land of Israel. And that reality has been made because of an organization that has taken a vision and a dream and made it such a working system that makes a difference in so many people's lives. So if you want to be part of our Go North campaign, bringing 300,000 people to the north, be part of Nefesh B'Nefesh and Jewish National Fund. If you want to be part of our Blueprint Negev campaign and bringing 500,000 people to the Negev, be part of Jewish National Fund and Nefesh B'Nefesh.
Kol od balevav penima nefesh Yehudi homia ulfate mizrach kadima ayin lezion tzofia od lavda tikvatenu hatikva bat shnot alpayim liotam chofshi be'artzenu Eretz Zion Yerushalayim